What's up, 2K crew? We are back with another build video for you, and today we are taking a look at Jimmy Butler, who has just been playing out of his mind in the postseason and led the Miami Heat to the NBA Finals. And now his team is down 3-1, but he's averaging nearly a triple-double. We're talking about 27.5 points a game, 10 assists, 7.8 rebounds a game, including Game 3. He had a crazy triple-double where he dropped 40 points, had 13 assists, and 11 rebounds to lead the Miami Heat to their only win of the series so far. We'll see if they can extend the series on Friday night's game, but right now the Heat are sitting at a 1-3 deficit. But regardless, Jimmy Butler has kind of elevated himself to that superstar status. He's really been able to showcase himself on this national stage. And so we're going to take the opportunity to see how we would recreate Jimmy Butler in NBA 2K21. Let's go. All right, so we've got Jimmy Pendis. We're putting him at shooting guard. And let me tell you guys, I've compared shooting guard and small forward because he could play really either position. And shooting guard has a lot of benefits. A lot of the attributes that are meaningful to Jimmy Butler are higher with shooting guard, and also you get a lot more badge points if you go shooting guard. So we're going to stick with this. We're right-handed, number 22, and let's get into it. As far as the skill breakdown goes, for Jimmy Butler, since he has some great skills on both sides of the ball, we are going to pick the shooting and defense pie chart. So that's your red-green. And we're going to go with that one. And then when it comes to the physical profile, pick the top pie chart, which gives you the most speed possible. All right, so when we get into the potential here, we're going to max out close shot, driving layup, driving dunk, and we're going to bring post hook to a 63. And once we hit 63, that the finishing badges will go up to 5 there. We're not putting anything in standing dunk for this build. For shooting, we're going to max out mid-range, three-point shooting, free throw, and then bring post fade up to 58. For playmaking, we are going to bring pass accuracy to a 74. Ball handling, max that out and leave nothing in post moves. And then when we get to defense, we'll go max on perimeter, lateral, steal, defensive rebounding, and then we'll have no attributes added to offensive rebound, block, or interior defense. And this brings our totals to 18 defensive badges, 9 playmaking badges. And if you guys have been watching the finals, you'll know that Jimmy Butler has been doing a lot of the initiating of the offense. A lot of time he's bringing the ball up himself. So playmaking is important for this build, and this is a big difference between the shooting guard and the small forward. When I made this build for small forward, I only got 5 badges out of playmaking, so this is a significant increase for this build. 18 shooting and 5 finishing. That brings us to a total of 50 badge points to work with. When I did this for the small forward, it was a total of 45. And of course, that can be manipulated in different ways, but when it comes down to this build and optimizing it, I think shooting guard is really the way to go so you can get the most out of these badges. For the body shape, we're going to leave this at defined. And for the height, Jimmy Butler is 6'7", but you'll see once we go up to 6'7", we're losing a lot on a lot of key attributes, including ball handling goes down to a 68, steal goes down to an 82. So there's some things I don't like there. So we're going to leave this at 6'6" just to make sure that this build can play really well in NBA 2K21, since that's the most important thing here. So leave this at 6'6" for Jimmy Butler. For the weight, there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. It's interesting because Jimmy Butler is a physical player. He likes to, put his body into the defender. So you don't want to sacrifice too much strength if you're trying to replicate Jimmy Butler. But I would put this at 221 pounds. Once you go up to 222, you're losing another point of acceleration. But at 221, you still have an 83 speed, 82 acceleration, and no, you can still get these boosted up by doing the Gatorade workouts or by getting the gym rat badge eventually. So these are still really good physical specs for this build. For the wingspan, this is also kind of an interesting thing in that you can go a couple of different ways on it. If you want this build to be more of a lockdown, of course, go higher on the wingspan. but the shorter you go, of course, you'll be able to shoot better. So that's the tough part with a green-red build, because whichever side that you go, you're taking away from the other. So I like kind of a middle ground here. I think I'm going to leave this at 84.3. You only take a slight hit on your shooting and ball handling, but you do get a +2 to your steal, +1 to your block, +2 to your defensive rebound. And so we're still strong on offense. Our shooting, once we hit 99, is going to be an 80 three-pointer and 83 mid-range. So that's going to be super effective. Along with those 18 shooting badges, you're going to be totally fine with this. So I think 84.3 is a good spot for the wingspan for Jimmy Butler. And then Takeover, your options are lockdown, slasher, spot up, and shot creator. I think Jimmy Butler could fit any of these potentially. I think for me, I would like to go with the lockdown defender Takeover, and I think this could be a pesky build with that Takeover, but certainly this is up to you. So I will take lockdown defender, and here we go. You have built a perimeter lockdown, shades of Ray Allen, Victor Oladipo, and Drew Holiday. Some really nice comparisons. I will say, when I did this for the small forward build, I got the exact same archetype name, perimeter lockdown. And it did have shades of Jimmy Butler when I did this as a small forward, the same height, similar attribute distribution. So if you want to get that Jimmy Butler shades of, go to the small forward. You just lose some badge points and a few attribute points as well. Okay, so that's the Jimmy Butler build. Now we'll jump into the badge distribution. I'll go ahead and map those out in advance just so we don't waste your time, and then we'll get into the gameplay. All right, let's jump into the badge distribution, starting with finishing. We have 5 potential upgrades. I've dropped these into consistent finisher and fancy footwork, just knowing that Jimmy Butler does finish around the hoop pretty well and is creative around the hoop. But we don't have a lot of badges to work with, so we want to make the most out of what we have, and I think these 2 will be effective. And then I threw the last one on Giant Slayer, especially because this build is at 6'6". We're going to be playing against a lot of players who are a little bit taller, and I think this badge will come in handy and allow Jimmy Butler to finish around the hoop a little bit better. So those are the 5 that I use. I also considered Contact Finisher and Acrobat. So I think any combination of those 5 badges would be a good one for Jimmy Butler. Moving on to shooting. Okay, so I have this on what I would use once the build is all set and ready to go. I put Hot Zone Hunter at Hall of Fame. I think Hot Zone Hunter is one of the best badges so far in 2K21 for shooting. For the purposes of this demo build, I'm going to move this down to volume shooters since we don't have any hot zones established, but this is what I would recommend if you're actually building this build. Hot Zone Hunter Hall of Fame. Then we'll put Deadeye on gold, Range Extender on gold. I think Range Extender is one that I usually go out to Hall of Fame, but with this build, the shooting isn't amazing. I mean, it's good, but I think you're not going to be pulling from 5 feet behind the three-point line with this build, so I think gold is going to be sufficient for this one. Gold Green Machine, again, gold flexible release. I feel like this is a must-have, especially for a shooter that's around this range of this build, that's around 80. I think flexible release is going to be great, and make sure you're a very consistent shooter. And then catch and shoot, I think, is just a great badge. And we had a couple points left over, so we'll put that on silver. Moving into playmaking, we have 9 badge points to work with. We'll start out with bailout on at least bronze, because as a shooting build, a lot of times you'll get up in the air, realize that the defender's too close and it's a bad shot, and you'll want to pass that off to someone else. So make sure you get bailout. Needle Threader, again, because Jimmy Butler is a distributor on his team, and Needle Threader will allow him to make more difficult passes. So this is a great one for Jimmy. Quick First Step, it fits the Jimmy Butler build, but also is a great badge in this game. Make sure that you get those quick blow-bys and are able to make some fast moves with the ball. And then Unpluckable, just for a little bit of extra security, since the ball handling attributes are not super high on this build. Moving on to defense and rebounding, we have 18 badge points to work with. So I'm going with Hall of Fame Clamps, Hall of Fame Intimidator, and Hall of Fame Pickpocket, just so this build is an absolute menace and a pain to deal with. Pick Dodger, we'll put that on gold, because as a perimeter player, you're probably going to be dealing with some of that. And then Rebound Chaser I put on gold just because Jimmy Butler is a great rebounder in his own right. Other badge that I considered was Interceptor. So if you feel like you want to do some changes, you could do something like drop these down to gold and put Interceptor on silver. That's an option. I like it how it is. Or if you think you're not going to be guarding the perimeter or the ball very much, you could drop Pick Dodger down and drop this up a little bit, or take this away altogether and go gold Interceptor. So there's some ways to kind of tune this a little bit to how you want to play with the build, but I think this is quite representative of Jimmy Butler, so I'm feeling good about this. So that's the badge distribution for Jimmy Butler. We'll be jumping over to the demo gameplay in just a minute, but if you like this video, make sure to drop a like on it, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe for more builds of players past and present and more creative ways to play NBA 2K21. Some final thoughts about this Jimmy Butler build after using it. It feels a little bit like a Swiss Army knife build. Can do a little bit of everything. Can score in the paint, can knock down shots from the outside, can distribute the ball, and of course can lock it down on defense. So I think it's going to be a very effective build. Now, it's not a flashy build. This isn't a highlight reel build, but it's a build that's going to win you games. So if you compare this with a crew that has a player that can create shots for themselves, I think that this is a great kind of secondary scoring option that defenses aren't going to be able to leave alone and will have to respect as well. And meanwhile, you'll be able to contribute significantly on the defensive end. So hopefully you enjoyed this Jimmy Butler build. It was fun to make, and I look forward to making more builds for you guys very soon.